Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you like a 10 to 15 minute makeup routine for hot, humid, some would say heat wavy weather. If you don't know, here in the UK we are currently going through a heat wave. It is very, very hot. It is very, very humid, hence the plaits. And I went out with my family, my husband's family and my kids for a very long day on Saturday. We went out like about lunchtime. We went on the hottest mini little steam train of my whole existence. Hottest I've ever been. We then spent some time by the lake, we had ice cream, went back on the boiling hot train, and then we went out for dinner. All of the car journeys were hotter than balls, and this is the makeup look and products that I used on that day. And honestly, we got to the restaurant for dinner and I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna look like? When I glanced in the mirror in the toilet and I was like, okay, it held up, it looked good, everything was still there. It literally took me 10 minutes, 2 brushes, 5 or 6 products if you include brows. So I thought, why not share that with you guys? It's very quick, very easy, minimal products, minimal brushes and minimal time, and it's just, for me, it's perfect for hot, humid weather. It looks very, very natural, very glowy, very easy and fresh and youthful, and just it wore like a dream. So let's get started. So we're nice and close in. I hope you can't hear the Tweety birds just outside my window too loudly, because they are having a whale of a time right now, let me tell you. So started off with my Estee Lauder Double Wear Flawless Hydrating Primer, because it has SPF 45 in it, and although I just literally put as much SPF on my face as I can on hot days, especially if I'm going to be outside for a fair while. So I've used my quarterly SPF already. My moisturiser also has SPF in it, and now more SPF, just because although you can't layer, you know, SPF, so it's not like this is all adding up to 300 SPF or anything, but what it is just doing is making sure that I've got enough SPF on like every bit of my face. Between the SPFs that I've used, every inch of my face is going to be like sufficiently covered, is kind of what I'm going for. So I really like that one because it just gives me a nice hydrated base, but it also gives me just a little bit of SPF, or a lot of bit of SPF. So I do foundation first. When I'm doing like minimal eye makeup, I like to do my foundation first, especially when my face is so pale compared to my body because of all the SPF. It just makes sure that everything is seamless, because I'm going to use a foundation that's going to match my body and not my face, so it is going to be a lot darker than my face. So if I miss kind of areas around my eyes and stuff, it can look quite disjointed. So I'm using this Lancome Skin Feels Good. This is their like skin tint. So there's very few shades of this because it is a skin tint, and this one is definitely a bit darker than my body, even so, but it is so sheer that it was absolutely fine. When you first put it on, it's a bit frightening, I understand. It smells beautiful, but this wore so well that I was really shocked. Like, it was so hot that day, and we had just been out like all day long, and when we got to the pub for dinner, and I looked in the mirror and I thought, my god, the state I'm gonna look, the absolute state that I'm gonna look. And it was like all still there, all still in place. Mega dewy, but not greasy looking. So because this is a little bit, or a lot of bit, darker than my face, I'm just taking this all the way down my neck so that it can match up with my more tanned bod. But you can see now it's all blended in. It is absolutely perfect with my body. It's just, obviously, if you're going to build up the coverage, then it's a struggle, because we only have 8 shades of this in the UK. In the US, apparently you have 11, I think. You have a few more, and one of those would definitely be a better shade for me. But as it's a skin tint and it is so sheer, obviously it doesn't need to have as many options as like a foundation. Okay, so concealer, I was using my Clinique Beyond Perfecting Super Concealer. I was loving this stuff. I really like this in the summer because it is really natural. It's a bit lighter coverage. It's more of like a medium coverage, and you don't need to set it too much. Like, I did not set this on that day and it was absolutely fine. No creasing, tiniest little bit maybe of creasing, but not anything that you can't deal with, just by like patting it back into the skin. So just applying that in all the usual places, and because that foundation or skin tint is quite a bit darker, I'm just making sure that I'm kind of blending this quite a bit more like out of my face than I would normally do, just to balance out the shade, and that will help everything be absolutely fine. So I didn't actually use a sponge for this while I was away. I was just using my finger. Blends in really nicely. It's really nice and natural, and it just gives you a little bit of extra coverage under the eyes. And for me, obviously with that foundation being so dark, it's just helping to blend everything together as well. But I did not set this and it lasted so well. Did not crease too badly. Just if it did start to crease, I would just do a little tappity tap and it was all good in the hood. So now you can see my face is looking much less crazy just by adding that bit of a lighter concealer in there. So that's kind of my trick, is if you've got a foundation that's a shade too dark, or there's not a shade light enough for you, balance it out with some concealer and just use it a bit of a wider circumference than you normally would. Okay, so I quickly just did my brows off camera just because we've seen that 100 times. And now I'm going to go in with my Charlotte Tilbury Lovegasm palette. This is just perfect for me for travel because it's not a loose formula, it is that gel hybrid formula. So it's like more reliable to travel with, and you're not scared it's going to smash into smithereens at any second because it's not as powdery. So the brush I'm using is the double-ended brush that comes free with your Anastasia palette. So most people, unless you threw it away, will have one of these. And this again is a really good one for travel, because I hate like traveling with brushes because they always get a bit like messed up. But this one, obviously being a free brush, I've got like 5 of them. I'm happy to travel with it. So I just using the blended end of this in the bronzer from that Lovegasm palette. I'm just whacking that all in the crease, blending it outwards. I didn't set that concealer on my lids. I'm just using that as a eyeshadow base. God, this brush is shedding everywhere. This is why I didn't mind travelling with it, you see, because it's already wrecked. So just a really light wash of that bronzer all up in the lids, and then I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize in the shade Jean, which is this little cream pot that I have been obsessed with. This is just perfect for a very quick look. So I just get that on the other end of that same brush and I just kind of dab it around in the lid because I want to use this really lightly. So just tapping that on the centre of the lid and then blending out. You could absolutely use a finger for this. You can just see how it's just totally subtle, little wash of shimmer. You could build this up as much or as little as you want, and it's just going to give you a lovely natural, barely there kind of eye look. Perfect for the hot weather. Then a quick coat of my Mcgrath mascara, which I have been obsessed with, and because this doesn't transfer, it doesn't smudge, it lasts all day, you can use it on top and bottom lashes and it's not going to do you dirty. Such a good mascara, but so flipping expensive. I wish it was just a few pounds cheaper. Bottom lashes as well, just with the excess from the top lashes. Don't want to do too much on these bottom lashes because mine get crazy real quick. So now back into that Lovegasm palette, and I'm going to take the bronzer on my Refer 05, and this was literally the only proper brush that I kind of took with me because it's just so versatile. When you're doing like looks like this, you can just be absolutely haphazard, slapdash, use it for everything. Life is good. So I haven't set anything, I haven't set that foundation, I haven't set my concealer, but everything is just fine. You just need to start off with a little bit of a patting motion, and then once you've laid that powder down, then you can just start buffing. And I'm just doing this bronzer. This is that really buildable formula bronzer, so it's going to start off really nice and soft, which is all I really wanted. I didn't want to look necessarily mega bronzy because I'm already pretty tan. I just want to add a little bit of definition in those cheeky bones, a little bit of life to the face, trying to match my neck to my bod, all the usual. So then I'm just going to go back to that same like flat side of that brush, and I'm going to go into the highlighter in this palette and just put a teensy bit in my inner corners, under my brow arch, and a teeny bit down the bridge of my nose, just at the top, because I have a really long beaky nose, so I don't want to highlight how long it is. And that is all the highlight I'm going to do. I'm not going to highlight my cheekbones or like above my brow. I'm just going to do the brow arch, inner corners, a little bit on the nose, and then I'm going to use these blushes because they're glowy enough that I don't need a highlight as well. So I'm just swirling between the two, and I'm just adding that at the tops of my cheekbones. And you can see when you've used that really glowy foundation and you're using a glowy blush, I do not need highlight as well on a day when I'm going for quick and minimal. Now for lips, you can literally do as much or as little as you want. I was using the Fenty Gloss Bomb a lot because it's just, you know, a sheer wash. If you want to go for a lipstick, this is the Emmanuelle from Pat McGrath, one of her Blitztrance lipsticks. I never picked any of these up from her initial launch because they were all very glittery and metallic. But this second launch is much more wearable to me. It basically looks like you've put a lipstick with some gloss over the top, and the shades are much more wearable. There's less glitter and they're just more glowy than like metallic, which is perfect for this kind of look because it really goes nicely with that blush, but it's just giving you a bit more of something on the lips. Obviously you could use a gloss like the Hourglass gloss. This is the shade Horizon that I really love. You could use the Fenty gloss, or you could just throw on a lip balm. Any of that would work. And there you have it. This is the finished look. Just so glowy and natural and simple and quick and easy to do. It takes no time whatsoever, like 10-15 minutes if that. And obviously you could skip some steps, you could leave your lip nude, you could go no blush. It's just very quick, easy, natural looking and wearable in this hot, humid weather. This wore just so much better than I thought it was going to. Obviously you could set with powder if you have more oily skin, or you just want to try and make it last and be less glowy, and you could also use a setting spray if you want to double up and really make it last. But for me, this lasted just shockingly well. I was really sweating on that day when I wore this out, and I was absolutely astonished that it was still looking like this, just glowier, but not in a sweaty way, you know, in a cool way. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I would love to see you in a future video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.